Oh, Travie.
Hello, Nina.
Hi, David.
Welcome back to the Equestrian Pedestrian, Bitless and Beautiful, Equestrian.
And you can be all of those things at one time. They all work hand in hand. It's funny, some people say, well, I get the bitless part, but what's the beautiful part mean?
That's a good.
Right? To you, what might the beautiful part be? Bitless and beautiful.
So it's like if you take away the bit, then what does beautiful mean? They're free, they're shining, they're happy, they're not stressed, they're not anxious, they're well fed, yeah.
I think the beautiful part encompasses all of the other stuff that the bitless journey can lead people to. Bitless seems to be like the gateway drug. Bitless seems to be like the gateway to other things. Like, I don't think I would be sitting here as a non-riding, as what we now like to call an equestrian pedestrian. I don't think I would be here as an equestrian pedestrian with a non-ridden equine if I hadn't gone bitless first. I think that I don't want to scare anybody, like, oh my God, I'm going to give up that bit and then I'm never going to ride again. No, it's just not going to happen like that. All of my students, mainly, everybody rides. They all ride. They all ride bitless, and they don't have any hopes to give up riding. I think that's a really scary thought for any equestrian.
I get that. Yeah.
The idea of giving up riding. Do you want to ask me anything about me giving up riding?
Well,
have you wondered about it?
I mean, there's a lot of. I've heard bits and pieces. So, yeah. How did the taking away the bit? I mean, you've already been riding for a good amount of time, and you probably were getting exposure to groundwork, or maybe you got more into groundwork. So yeah, what pushed you over the edge to say, I need a break?
I think for me, it wasn't even so much a break. I didn't even know that it was going to be a break. I didn't even know that it was going to happen.
Oh, wow.
When I got Travie, I needed to give Mercy a break from riding physically. She needed a physical break from riding. She has a lot of physical issues, and I thought she should get a good chunk of time off, and I want a project while she's having some downtime. So I found Travie, and for riding, specifically to ride, he was being ridden. He had been a racehorse, and then he'd been an endurance horse, and he was being sold as like a really good horse for an amateur owner type person. I'm like, that sounds perfect. Something I can just take on the trails, that I can hack around. Little did I know that he would be this other huge harbinger of change and of metamorphosis for me. So Mercy had really pushed us into going bitless because of her issues with the bit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And Travie took the reins, so to speak, and got me on the ground because he showed me, we began got very intimate, really close, I'm not really sure how or what happened. And he showed me that he had a lot of trauma. And that he accepted a rider on his back, but it was just accepting it. He didn't love it. He did not look forward to it. It was not fun for him. It was something that he had resolved himself to. He was resolved with the idea.
I didn't know all this history.
Yeah, so I thought, I don't want my partner to just feel like resolved.
Not fun.
I mean, imagine that in any other scenario in your life, that you think you're enjoying something with someone and you find out, well, they're just okay with it. That's no fun.
Just okay is really not okay.
No, like imagine being on a date with somebody and you're really into it and really excited about it, and you kind of find out later they're just okay with it. Yeah, no. It wasn't the type of intimate exchange I wanted anymore. I wanted to know that my partner, in this instance Travie, was gaining and garnering something special like I was. So that led me to my journey on the ground. And I really always was curious to know. I think there's two kinds of horse people. There's the lovers of riding, and there's the lovers of horses. And sometimes people can be both. But I think usually there's one side that's more dominant. And for me, I wanted to know what it was. I've always been a rider. I started riding when I was 7 years old, and I've been riding the whole time since.
How did that weigh against your love for horses?
I wanted to know because I remember it being literally, coming out of the womb and being obsessed and adoring horses and wanting to be around them and knowing about them and seeking them. But I got introduced to riding because riding was the only way to be around them if you didn't have one. you go to a riding school or to a rental stable. You had no...
Riding is the focal point.
Yes, riding was a focal point. You had no opportunity just to be around them. So I thought to myself, oh my God, what if I never even wanted to ride them? What if that just had to happen because I wanted to be with them and that's all they offered? So I had questions. I had a lot of questions. So when I got off his back, one of the first things I noticed was I didn't miss it. I couldn't believe it.
That's so weird. Well,
I couldn't believe it.
So do you think his affect maybe pushed you over? Like, you felt like you didn't miss it. Maybe you're like, I don't want to do this if he doesn't want it.
I thought just in general, like even if I wasn't going to ride him and like Mercy, give him the time off. There's only a dozen other horses here that I could ride if I wanted to ride.
So you were over it, kind of.
I just didn't, it's like I didn't need to. I think because I was so satisfied with what we were doing on the ground. More satisfied than from riding. But I never knew because I'd never had the chance. Doing something with Travi at Liberty that is successful, say, the successful part. There's a part of that. Doing something that turns out successfully was feeling way more exciting and satisfying than something that I was successful at in the saddle. Maybe it was because it was new. You know, how many times are you going to be excited? Like, oh, I jumped 6 inches higher, and now I jumped 6 inches higher again, and now I jumped 6 feet, and you know, now I'm jumping 7 feet, and then where do I go? You know?
Right.
So maybe you become jaded by the time you've been riding as long as I had, and it was so exciting and new to be on the ground. But I don't know about that, because I can certainly, again, get on any of these horses. I'm sure any of them would say, okay, we'll take you for a ride. Climb on. We know you're okay. Get on there. But I'm not interested. I'm more interested in going down into the arena with him and working on an equation of something that we're working on and seeing how I'm going to try to communicate my desire to him on the ground.
That's why I came here originally. I felt some shame that I'm coming here not to ride. I thought everybody's here to ride. They're going to look at me like, what are you doing here, man?
Who's the weird guy that doesn't want to ride?
Go to the place next door. Maybe they'll accept you. But I agree. It's so satisfying working with Callie. Just before we filmed this video, I got her to, what do you call when they're kind of glued to your shoulder?
You had her with you. She was engaged with you.
And before she was running ahead, and I was thinking, how am I ever going to get her to trust me and stick with me and vibe with me? And it feels really good.
And 1 week later, there you are. There she is, right by your side.
Really, really fulfilling. And for me, that's a challenge. That's the equation that I try, like you said.
Now, you don't have a lot to compare it to because you haven't been on.
True.
But interestingly, you don't seem to be drawn to be on.
No, I'm a little afraid of falling off. But even besides that, I'd be more interested in a trail ride. But even that seems kind of boring. Just sitting on the back, walking through the forest. I mean, it does sound beautiful, but
you could do the same thing when you're hiking.
And I hike all the time. So,
right. So
although sometimes I go hiking, I haven't told you this. Sometimes I go hiking and I'm imagining having my horse partner walking.
I do the same thing. Especially after it rains and there's grass. I'm always thinking, oh God,
they would love
I
this.
wish Travi was here right now.
He would eat all this.
This would be so great. He'd love this. Yeah.
I fantasize about having a horse with me.
I do too.
That's so funny.
I do too. And again, not as a riding thing. Like, I'd love to be walking him with me right now.
Horse,
So,
that's hilarious.
Again, we always want to stress that we are not here judging, shaming, anything like that. I'm a long-time rider. I was raised with all of what I call the old ways. You know, I was raised with the forceful methods, and I just happened to have sort of an awakening and a change of heart. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody because of it. That's just what's happening to me, and I do like to share it, and I do like to talk about it. And there are people out there that are riding that same wave, but they're not, I don't have anybody that I know. It's people like in other countries or in another state. It's not like it's this huge wave coming right up underneath our feet. It's out there and it's happening. So I think it's really important to make these YouTube videos, get these out there, and let people also know who might feel alone in this. Hey, we're out here too. We're going through the same strange evolution in our horsemanship, in our equestrianism, where we're re-examining and rethinking ethics and things about consent and things about choice and things about intimacy and what it means to the horse to have the rider on them. And all of these things, just re-examining the whole thing. It's time for that.
Yeah, we hope for the horses and for the humans that more people find their own way of relating to ethical equestrian practices.
Yeah, as long as it's kind of thing like as long as no one's getting hurt, as long as no one's getting hurt, you know. And you hopefully, like, one thing we would love to weed out that old saying, "This is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you."
That's gross.
Like, that's something we don't want to hear anymore. Like, nobody should be getting hurt. Everybody should really just be having like a beautiful, heartwarming time, and that isn't some sort of a unicorn dream. We're doing it, right?
We do it, and Nina has a good saying that I like: if you know better, do better. So if you never knew about recycling, then you didn't know that you could have helped the earth out in a way. So if you know different practices and other ways to work with your horse, then why not practice it? So
What's the other thing that I like to say?
we have a video on that.
About compassion being your...
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh, David! About compassion being your compass.
Okay.
Allow compassion to be your compass.
Yeah.
If you are ever at a crossroads, you're maybe in the training session, you are in it, and you just don't know which way to turn, that is the best thing to rely on. What would be the most compassionate choice right now? Believe me, it's not to go to the whip. It's not to start growling to get the horse to go through. Make the more, always lean to the more compassionate choice. And then you really can't go wrong.
Even with yourself, that you might not
Yeah.
be doing all these things that we're talking about. If you don't know, and you've only been raised one way since you were a little girl, little boy, have compassion with yourself, but it's not too late to change.
Yeah. And then the other thing we like to say that's also a good reminder too, you cannot train out trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma can't be trained out. If you're having a horse that's reacting from past trauma,
Yeah.
the last place you want to send it to is the trainer. The first thing you want to do is start to develop a really loving, warm, trusting relationship with that horse and try to figure out the root of the trauma and try to move forward from a place of love rather than thinking this rogue has to be sent to, you know, the one that's
The
going to...
Punisher.
Yeah, the Punisher. That's never going to work.
Some of my favorite videos on YouTube are the ones where they adopt a horse who knows what the history is, and the horse doesn't want anything to do with the human. They just give him time, they give him food, and then, you know, they show it like 3 months later, the horse is running and free, and the horse is rubbing up on the caretaker, and those are beautiful.
Yeah, because that's the way that it needs to be done. In the old world, you had a problem horse, and it went to the problem horse trainer,
It just
which
makes
was
me
the person
sick
who
here.
showed it once and for all. The human is going to dominate you. So yeah, no, I'm glad you don't have to see it. I'm glad you don't have to see it, David. I hope to protect more people from seeing it. I hope that one day it's more the norm to do things in a loving way rather than in a forceful way. But that's only if we keep talking about it, and that's the purpose of us doing the videos.
This is exactly why we're doing these videos. We always say we're not here to judge, we're not here to shame, we're just here to share, educate, offer a different way, a different perspective. So just want to put that out there.
Yes.
This isn't a...
To get everybody, just to get everybody thinking, to open your mind and to think.
I know no other way, so this is all I know, which is cool, but yeah.
It is really cool.
I love it.
It is very cool.
I love it.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Nina.
And thank you. And please find it in your heart to hit the subscribe button.
And like these videos so other people can be exposed to them as well
Yeah.
through the algorithms.
Yeah. Thank you.